Wow, what do you know? It's time for the Pocket Knife Show. Hey, it's Mike on the mic again for another episode of the Pocket Knife Podcast. Over the past several years, my wife and I, oftentimes accompanied by family members, have had the privilege of visiting a number of beautiful places. The first of these recent outings was a trip to South Dakota with our daughters in 2015. We visited Custer State Park, drove along the Needles Highway, dove deep into Jewel Cave, and ate at the Purple Pie Place. Not exactly part of creation, but it was good. We took a short excursion into Montana, a state none of our girls had been to, and came back south into northern Wyoming, where we took in Devil's Tower, an amazing 5,100-plus foot monolith surrounded by towering pines. On the way home, we drove through the Badlands and across the gigantic rolling hills of Nebraska, greener than green due to almost incessant rains in the spring. A year or so later, my wife and I visited Alaska with both sets of parents as part of a 30th anniversary trip. We watched whales breach in the distance, observed glaciers from the deck of our cruise liner, and up close enough to touch, we watched a giant sunfish drift past. On the way home, we visited Yellowstone with all its crazy geysers and sulfur-rich pools. Waterfalls dotted the landscape along the road. We saw elk and black squirrels. We saw a black bear and her cub wandering through the woods just off the road as we were leaving. Driving south from Yellowstone, we drove through Grand Tetons National Park, the peaks there jutting skyward, reflecting off the still waters of nearby lakes and rivers. Wow. On a more recent trip, my wife and I visited Arches National Park, where we saw crazy rock formations and, a rattlesnake in the wild. It was a tiny one lying across the trail, sunning itself in no mood to strike. After a quick photo from a safe distance, we gave it a wide berth. From Arches, we headed south to the Grand Canyon. From the south rim where we were, it stretches out as far as the eye can see. We hiked down into the canyon a short distance. Looking up gives a different feel. We drove farther south into the heart of Arizona, where we encountered a landscape like none we'd ever seen before. Saguaro cactus everywhere. It felt like another world. We climbed Camelback Mountain in Scottsdale, a small rocky upthrust peak in the middle of the city. On our way back to Kansas, we took a short side trip to the Petrified Forest National Park and the Painted Desert. This past summer, avoiding crowds during the pandemic, my wife and I visited North Dakota, one of only 2 states neither of us had been to. We saw beautiful bison, pronghorn antelope, and deep and gorgeous canyons in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. We hiked miles in the heat, draining our water supply. Yes, the signs of the trail had warned us it was a long hike, requiring rigor and lots of water. 8 times in the past 10 years or so, I've climbed the summit of 14,000-plus foot peaks in Colorado with my brothers, daughters, wife, nieces, nephews, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. Grays and Torreys were the first peaks I climbed. La Plata and Massive, the highest of those I've conquered, followed. Bierstadt I climbed with my wife. We camped out in the back of our van in the parking lot the night before. I ran up Pikes Peak as one of thousands entered in the half-marathon ascent in mid-August one year. I topped Democrat and Cameron most recently. The views along the way up, at the top of the world, and on the way down are among the most amazing things I've ever seen. There's something special about seeing clouds below you while you're standing on firm ground. There's something special about close encounters with mountain goats above tree line crossing your path. Not so special moments include getting lost among the willows coming down Mount Massive, being pelted by hail on the descent of the first 4 summits, and hoping late afternoon lightning won't strike me or my wife. Without leaving our home state of Kansas, we've seen vistas as amazing as any other. Kansas sunsets and sunrises never get old. Snapshot Kansas, a Facebook photography group that I founded with nearly 20,000 members, never lacks for photos of the oranges and reds, the pinks and yellows of light refracted off the dust in the air. Thunderclouds towering above the plains never cease to amaze. Tornadoes seen from afar are sort of fun to watch. Up close, not so much fun. Seeing turkeys in the ditch, rabbits in yards, deer crossing the road as I run on sandy roads is enlivening. Being struck on the head by a Mississippi kite swooping at me and standoffs with skunks, not quite as welcome. Last year, with our exchange student and our daughters, we took in Castle Rock, Monument Rocks, and Little Jerusalem Badlands State Park, Mushroom Rock State Park, and we climbed Mount Sunflower, the highest point in our mostly flat state. Recently, my wife and I discovered Quivira National Wildlife Refuge, about an hour north and east of us. We have, on our 4 or 5 or 6 trips there, observed wading birds by the hundreds, herons, egrets, plovers, sandpipers. We've watched snow geese and ducks of every variety by the thousands rise up from salt marshes. Pelicans and cormorants have flown by our car and congregated on far-off shorelines and floated on calm waters. Having seen all these places and taken in all the amazing variety of creation, I can worship with the psalmist who, at the beginning of Psalm 19, wrote, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech, night after night they reveal knowledge. They have no speech, they use no words, no sound is heard from them, yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world." And I can sing with joy also. O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. When through the woods and forest glades I wander and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees, when I look down from lofty mountain grandeur and hear the brook and feel the gentle breeze, then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. In addition to all the other things God has done for which I give thanks, this week, with Thanksgiving Day approaching, I offer my praise to God with gratitude in my heart for the amazing world He created. He created it, I know, for the enjoyment and pleasure of all. I urge you not to miss the beauty and grandeur of what you see this week. Let God's creative brilliance amaze you as you walk around the block or drive down the highway or fly over the plains. Be stunned by what God has made, and let loud praise or whispered thanks slip from your lips. Oh no, it's sad, I know, we've come to the end of the show. See you next time.